2024 added a lot of new features and Pokemon to Pokemon Go. But what exactly can we expect in 2025? Well, in this video, I'll be looking to the future and going through what is most likely coming to the game next year. So starting off with an event that we know is definitely coming next year, and that is the Unova Tour. Each year since 2021, we have had a Go Tour event take place in February and March time, and each year it has been themed around a region or generation of Pokemon. The first being the Kanto Tour all the way through to the Sinnoh Tour this year. And next up is the Unova Tour, which will be taking place between the 21st and 23rd of February in person in LA and Taipei City, and on March 1st and 2nd globally. But what can we expect from this event? We do know a handful of things about this event, but we don't know exactly what the headline feature will be. Well, all the way back in December 2023, we did have some hints at what we could possibly see being the headline act for the Unova Tour. There were a couple of accidental Pokemon releases, those being Black and White Kyurem, which are fusions of Kyurem with Zekrom and Kyurem with Reshiram, both of which were mistakenly made available as Go Battle League win rewards instead of the current 5-star raid boss at the time, which was the regular Kyurem. These were quickly removed from the game and from players' accounts who managed to get them, and it was made pretty clear that these Pokemon would be released for something far bigger. And they are most likely going to be the big new release coming for Unova Tour in 2025, especially as we have had fusion Pokemon like these released into the game just this year, those being Dawnwings and Duskmane Necrozma. So as the fusion mechanic has already been implemented into the game, it probably won't be too much effort for them to release the next fusion Pokemon during Unova Tour. And there is a good chance that we will see these fusion Pokemon have their signature moves, or maybe just have a chance of having them, depending on whether you pick the black or white medal. This is similar to what we saw for Origin Form Dialga and Palkia during the Sinnoh Tour, and I would imagine that these signature moves would have adventure effects as well. Adventure effects are effects that can be used outside of battle, and the fusion Pokemon Black and White Kyurem could have similar adventure effects to Dawnwings and Duskmane Necrozma's effects, because they are fusion Pokemon as well. Duskmane Necrozma, with its signature move Sunsteel Strike, has the effect of attracting Pokemon that normally spawn in the daytime to your location for 10 minutes, no matter whether it is day or night. It also allows the evolution of Pokemon that can only evolve in the day. On the other hand, Dawnwings Necrozma's signature move Moongeist Beam works in the same way, but with nighttime spawns and nighttime evolutions. It is possible that Black and White Kyurem, with their signature moves Freeze Shock and Ice Burn respectively, could have adventure effects that allow you to spawn ice and electric types or ice and fire types to your location. Or they could have completely different effects. We'll have to just wait and see for that. And these are most likely not the only alternative versions of legendary Pokemon that we will see coming in 2025, but more on that later. So what else can you expect from Unova Tour? Well, we do know that we will be seeing Shiny Meloetta released via a pay-for Masterwork research, which has been a part of Go Tour events each year, with Kanto having Shiny Mew, Johto Tour releasing Shiny Celebi, Hoenn Tour featuring Shiny Jirachi, and Sinnoh Tour releasing Shiny Shaman. But there was another particular mythical Unova Pokemon that has only been released once in the game for $8 back in December 2022. And with it being over 2 years since it was released in the game, it's possible we could see this Pokemon again for Unova Tour in 2025. And that Pokemon is Keldeo, which is one of the best fighting type attackers in the game, and perhaps we could even see it in its Resolute form as well. But as we are getting Shiny Meloetta, I think it is possible that Niantic could hold on to Keldeo for another event in the future. And speaking of mythical Pokemon, it does seem like Shiny Victini will be kept for another event as well. And during Unova Tour, we will also be seeing the release of most of the remaining shiny Pokemon for the Unova region. So excluding mythicals, we will be seeing Shiny Deerling and Sawsbuck, and the shiny regionals Maractus, Sigilith, and Bouffalont being released. And we do have the red and blue striped Basculin shinies to be released, which will be released via routes during Unova Tour. And on the topic of routes, I could potentially see some additions or augmentations to the route system in 2025, because it does kind of need a rework or some way of livening it up a little bit. But what could we see happen to routes that could make them more interesting? Well, one of the biggest ways of making routes more interesting would be the addition of wonder trading. We have already had the addition of Mateo to routes, which is a hiker class character that you can meet at the end of a route, which allows us to randomly exchange a gift with another trainer in the world. So with this being added into routes, it doesn't seem like much of a stretch to think that wonder trading could be implemented as well. But what exactly is wonder trading? So in the main series games, wonder trading is a feature where you can select a Pokemon to trade, and it will be randomly and blindly traded with another trainer's Pokemon. So it is quite an interesting feature because you never know what you'll receive. And in Pokemon Go, perhaps this could be another feature that Mateo could offer, or perhaps there could be another character that has a chance of spawning on routes other than Mateo, which could offer the wonder trade mechanic. And there are some other things we could potentially see from routes. roots. So we have recently had the release of mighty Pokemon into the game during the Go Wild area event. These mighty Pokemon are a type of Pokemon that are fully evolved in the wild. They have a higher chance of being XL or XXL sized. They have a 13, 13, 13 IV floor. They are generally higher level, somewhere between level 35 and 45, and they are more difficult to catch. And it could be really interesting if mighty Pokemon were a rare spawn on routes. This would definitely increase the playability of routes and help people get some high level Pokemon, especially if the level cap is going to be raised in the future. And raising the level cap is something that I think we could see next year. It has now been over 4 years since the level cap was increased from level 40 to 50, and there have been quite a few events throughout 2024 that have given out a lot of XP, and this could potentially hint to a level cap increase coming in the near future. And as it took 4 years for the first level cap increase, and it has been another 4 years since, it could be closer than we think. And we have seen some evidence of increased level caps pretty recently. Firstly, data miners did see some hints to level 55 in the in-game code, and we have had some higher than level 50 Pokemon released into the wild in Pokemon Go. During this year's in-person wild area event in Fukuoka, Japan, there were some mighty Pokemon spawning in the wild above level 50, which have never been seen before. This of course could have been a bug on Niantic's part, or it could have been some testing for higher level Pokemon, which would come with higher trainer levels. It is also possible that a level increase, whether to level 55 or to 60, will most likely come with new methods of leveling up, as well as XP gain like level 40 to 50 did with the level up challenges. And as well as new content for Pokemon Go in 2025, we do also have the release of the Nintendo Switch game Pokemon Legends ZA, and it is very likely that Pokemon Go will do some kind of crossover event. This could potentially lead to the release of Shiny Zygarde into the game, which would have some kind of roots tie-in as well, because it is the only way to get Zygarde cells in Pokemon Go that you can use to change Zygarde into its other forms. And as Pokemon Legends ZA will be featuring new Mega Evolutions, it is quite possible that we will see 1 or 2 during the tie-in event as well. And another big event that we do know we will be seeing in 2025 will be Pokemon Go Fest. There will be in-person and global versions of this event, and there are quite a few things that we could potentially see from Go Fest 2025. With the release of Gala Pokemon into the game in September 2024, and with the release of shiny versions of Hero, Zacian and Zamazenta, I think it could be likely that Go Fest 2025 has some Gala theme or aspect to it. And in particular, I could see the crown forms of Zacian and Zamazenta being the headline additions. And it could be even more interesting if we did see Eternatus or Eternamax Eternatus being available for the first time, with the crown forms of Zacian and Zamazenta to fit in with the Sword and Shield games thematically. But I do think it is a little bit early for Eternatus to be released in Pokemon Go. And with it being the first Go Fest where Dynamax and Gigantamax Pokemon have been released into the game, we could potentially see the first legendary Dynamax Pokemon at Go Fest, or generally at some point throughout the year. And another possibility for Go Fest 2025 could be the release of the long-awaited Mega Mewtwo X and Y. And I mainly think this is a possibility because of the release of the Legends ZA game in 2025, because this game does have a Mega Evolution aspect to it, and it takes place in the Kalos region, which was the region where Mega Evolution was first discovered and Mega Mewtwo was first released. However, as good as it would be to see Mega Mewtwo being released into the game for Go Fest 2025, I do think it is possible it could be left for Go Fest 2026 for the 10th anniversary of Pokemon Go, or it could even be pushed to 2027 Go Fest for the 10th anniversary of Pokemon Go Fest itself. Another possibility for Go Fest 2025 could be the release of the remaining Sinnoh mythical Pokemon Arceus, Phione and Manaphy. These Pokemon were left out from the Sinnoh tour, assumably so they could be released in another big event. And with these Pokemon being the only Gen 4 Pokemon not in the game yet, the next Go Fest could be a good time to get these long-awaited Pokemon released into Pokemon Go. Big events like Go Tour and Go Fest events are very popular amongst trainers, and they are some of the biggest increases to revenue for Niantic, so it's very likely that the wild area is here to stay. And as the wild area has a history in the Galar region, being that it was featured in Sword and Shield games, it does seem very likely that it will feature another Pokemon along the same lines as Toxtricity, being that it will be a Galar Pokemon that has a D-Max and G-Max form, and it could very likely be a dual type as well. Some potential candidates for it could be the water and rock type Pokemon Dreadnought, the bug fire type Centiskorch, these two being the most similar as they do have dual dual typings, have only one evolution, and have Gmax forms. Some other possibilities that have slightly less similarities could be Colossal, Sandaconda, Alcremie, and Hatterini, amongst others. And on the topic of events, there is another event that will definitely happen next year, that being the 9th anniversary event, and this could very likely feature the 999th Pokemon in the Pokedex, Gimmighoul, and it could be a perfect opportunity to release this Pokemon in its shiny version. And not only could we see a lot of different mythical and legendary Pokemon debuts next year, we will also see quite a few legendaries in their shadow form coming to the game. So Giovanni usually appears at least once per season during a Team Go Rocket takeover with a new shadow legendary Pokemon, and we have had all of the legendaries from Gen 1 and Gen 2 so far, and in Gen 3 we have had the Regis, Latios and Latias, and both Groudon and Kyogre. Shadow Rayquaza was skipped, and then we recently had some Gen 4 shadow legendaries, Shadow Cresselia and Shadow Heatran, added to the game, so there are a few options we could see in 2025. Shadow Rayquaza could very likely be one, as well as Deoxys and Darkrai if we get some mythicals, because these mythicals are different from others, being that they are raidable and they're not locked to special research. And some other more likely ones will be the Shadow Lake Trio and Shadow Dialga and Palkia. But what shiny shadow legendaries could we expect to see in 2025? So normally once a shadow Pokemon has debuted through Giovanni, it will then eventually come to shiny raids, where it will have its shiny become available for the first time. And we already know that the Shadow Regis will be debuting in shadow raids with their shinies during the Dual Destiny season. But what other shiny shadow legendaries are we likely to see? With Groudon and Kyogre having had their debuts as shadows, I could definitely see them coming to shadow raids in 2025, most likely part of shadow raid weekend events. And as well as shadow legendaries, we do still have a few mega evolutions left to be released in Pokemon Go, and it is likely that we will see them next year because we do have some brand new mega evolutions coming with Pokemon ZA next year, so there will be more to come after the current ones have finished releasing. So the remaining mega evolutions will most likely release on the run up to the Legend ZA release, probably apart from Mega Mewtwo X and Y though, because they'll be kept for a bigger event. And as we have had Gala Pokemon debut for the first time in 2024, it is likely we will see the continued release of Gala Pokemon going forward next year, along with their Dynamax and Gigantamax forms. And for Gigantamax Pokemon, we still have many that could release, including Gmax Snorlax, Pikachu, Eevee, Butterfree, Meowth, Corviknight, Alcremie, Dreadnought, Machamp, Melmetal, Colossal, Sandaconda, Centiskorch, Grimmsnarl, Hatterini, Copperajah, Duraludon, Flapple and Appleton, Orbeetle, Garbodor, Kingler, Inteleon, Cinderace, Rillaboom, and Urshifu. And we do also have Eternamax Eternatus, but that most likely will be a while off. And some of these Gigantamax Pokemon will most likely be releasing in Max Battle Days like we've seen with Gmax Lapras. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think will be coming to the game next year. And if you did enjoy this video, check out these videos on the screen now, and I'll catch you in the next one.